Welcome back. We are on our second half of the draft episode. The last episode, we finished at round 1, pick 18. I think the 19th pick had just come in. So today we are starting at pick 20. So we'll continue going one by one to see what happens. So just a little recap from the first episode there. We had a little run on pitchers, pick 11, 12, 13. 15, 16, 17, 18 were all pitchers. So only 2 position players have gone, 2 center fielders since pick 7. We only had the 10th pick and center fielder Chris Tigner, and the 14th pick Jeremy Bailiff to Oakland and Baltimore. So other than that, we've had all position players right till this last pick. Danny Hines, Toronto there. The Toronto pick Danny Hines, 65 power. I don't know if we actually went over him last video, so I'll just start with him. I can't remember if that was the one we ended on or not. He has quite the exactly like Spencer Torkelson's profile, just a tad worse. Torkelson at the draft was a similar 25-45 hit tool with a 40-65 or 40-70 power and 40. Not even, I don't think they're quite 40s though, maybe 35 or 40 with 70. So similar profile from a corner outfielder with similar defense, just not quite as booming of a eye, but pretty similar power profile, patience. So that'll be interesting. I think it was Toronto that picked Torkelson in 2022 before trading him to St. Louis. So then with pick number 20, we had Jake Powell, yet another pitcher going. Powell was one of the best lefties in the draft. There was very few lefties I had ranked in the top 3 rounds. Powell was number 2 or 3 on my list. He had 60 control. He has a pretty nice overall profile. Pretty mediocre stats in college for a guy that good, just because he had progressed quite a bit lately. His fastball is the only kind of weakness. It's pretty good currently, just doesn't have a big electric ceiling, but that is for major league quality pitches. He should be pretty solid. Just kind of looks like a high floor guy that should be able to reach his potential with his advanced currents for a college guy. Having such good solid pitches, should be able to play at a pretty high minor league level pretty soon. Next pickup, again, you just can never have enough good lefties with 4 pitches there. Just need to overdraft those guys nonstop. There's just not enough good lefties to go around. Next pick was really interesting pick. San Diego went with a big hit tool, Danny Delancey. Delancey is a very advanced bat for a high school bat, probably about as good as a hit tool as you'll see from a high school guy. Very rare. If you actually go to the rookie draft and you look at the draft pool and you search by high school players and you search by contact, it'll be this guy's actually surprisingly got a 40 hit tool. That's pretty crazy, but very rare will you see over a 30 hit tool. There's only about 6 guys in this draft, 7 guys in this draft with it. None of them have any power, 20 power, 25, 20. This guy actually has 30. That's the super advanced college bat. Hoffman there that gets picked soon. We'll talk about him. So Delancey having that combination, you see all these guys, high school guys, the advanced bats, they all have pretty high avoid K. The difference between those guys and Delancey is Delancey has that 60 eyes. You see all the other guys have 40s. So that means as a profile overall, he's the only guy with that combination of young age and the high work ethic. So if he can improve just a bit on defense and get by in the middle of the infield, he looks more like a first baseman to me at the current point, unless he can improve that defense. But his bat's so good, he probably could stick at second base, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he went up to 50 range after a couple of years. Those 17, 18-year-old guys, high work ethics can usually improve quite a bit. So that was an awesome choice there. You just can never go wrong with a 17-year-old with a 35 hit tool. Awesome advanced profile there. So very next pick actually was Dylan Hoffman, funny enough. So Dylan Hoffman is the most explosive bat in the draft for a young guy, other than those college guys that went in the top 10 with the crazy bats. Dylan Hoffman's an 18-year-old, kind of like a real-life Blaze Jordan profile. Third, like I just talked about with the hit tool, it's extremely high for a high school guy, but he also has a 60 power. So this guy is just an amazing ceiling. Should be able to be one of those top-notch first basemen if he can develop. It has an awesome gap power too, which is huge. So he went to the Dodgers. So yeah, Dodgers get a big booming bat. We got next up Derrick Bourne. Derrick Bourne is another pitcher He has high intelligence, and he has an amazing fastball. So this guy has 3 good pitches that are all, well, 35 40s, getting along there. Changeup's questionable. We'll see if either that changeup or slider develop. But 100 miles an hour power pitcher, over the top, with probably the best fastball in the draft from a starting pitcher, or one of the top 3. A couple guys with the 55 70s I've seen, all first round picks, and incredible movement. So this guy just has an amazing profile. Should be able to develop into a stud with just a tad more control. It's always the question. It's always the control and the changeups. But yet another guy, like we talked about last video, that can probably move to the pen if he can't get enough control to be a starter. But either way, big time ceiling with a power arm like that. Next pick we have, so that was to the Expos. Next picked up, we have the New York Mets, who went with Alan Williams. Alan Williams has one of the best hit tool bat on ball skills in the draft. Yet another guy with a high avoid K contact, but he also has that pretty good gap power and home run power. So other than he has everything you need. But like we mentioned in the last video also, you don't really need a great eye if you have that very good contact tool, because you're making a lot of contact. Doesn't hurt you as much. Obviously, you'd still like to have a higher eye, but that is a really good contact avoid K with some speed. So he should be able to hit a ton of doubles, stretch some of those doubles into triples with that speed. And he looks like he could play second base pretty solid. He's listed as a third baseman. I think probably fits just as well at second base, but he also can play the outfield with 55 outfield range and 65 speed. He should be able to fit in a corner outfield spot. So this guy can kind of play 4 to 5 different positions all over the diamond. Really high adaptability. So just nice overall profile. Really solid. Kind of reminds me a bit of Urshela. If you look at Urshela's profile, he has the same profile with the low eye with a similar high contact avoid K power combo. And if you look at Urshela, he put up pretty good career with 22 total WAR, so that's a pretty good guy to nab in the late first round if you can have a similar career to Gio Urshela. Next up, we have Danny Frono, who was one of the better pitchers in the draft. I had him rated very highly on my board. He has really good cutter, curveball, changeup combo, 65, 65, 70. He struck out 33% of batters in college. They only hit 213 off him. The guy has really good movement. Very similar profile to the guy that went just a few slots above, Derrick Bourne. The difference being Frono has the good third pitch, where Bourne has 4 pitches, but the third and fourth currents aren't quite as good. Also, Frono has the durability. Pretty similar profile, also lacking a bit in control. Not that bad. It's more so the other ones are more advanced. 30-50 is not bad. It should be, yet another guy that if he gets his control, there's a lot of luck involved in this stuff. If your pitchers and coaches can teach him how to control that ball, he should be a major league player. We'll see. Only time will tell. Bobby Acock was the very next pick. I think he just grew an inch, because I am positive he was 6 foot last time I looked. Bobby Acock is a 70 range, 70 speed outfielder with big time stealing defense combo. Can play all 3 outfield spots. Also has 50 infield range. He has a 45 power potential with 55 contact, 60 avoid K potential. So this guy is a really good all-around player. He reminds me of Braden Payment from last year, who went in the second round. I had him rated as a late first rounder. Almost took him with my first rounder last year. I think Washington got quite a steal with him in the second round. As you can see, he's batting .347 in Double-A. Very similar profile. I think Acock has a little more range, 670 compared to 65, but yeah, very good player. You can see with Payment last year, really successful right away, which is the profile is he's so advanced. Should be able to go right to high A, I think, with that contact avoid K combo in defense, and be a positive player right away. 13 home runs this year, and he batted over 300 all 3 years of college with some pretty good ISO and a lot of stolen bases. 32 stolen bases in 60 games, stole over 100 bases in 3 years in college. Pretty prolific talent. I thought he might have gone a little bit higher. Next up was my pick. I went with Ben Cahoon. I had a tough time with this pick between a few players. I almost changed my mind about 4 times. I had quite a bit of time to make my mind up. And I really like Cahoon's ceiling. I had him rated very highly as the 7th best player in the draft. I thought he was miles better than the next high school pitcher. So that really separated him. Very young, very high control, 4 really solid pitches, really high ceiling because of the best pitch is that cutter, which is 45-65, which is extraordinarily high from a high school guy. Super high stamina. Everything you look for, he has that over the top 96-mile-an-hour profile. So pretty much. And the part I like best about him is he's improved a ton. He's gone up a lot. He was 90 velo and up to 94. And you see a lot of green on that profile, so I hope that he keeps trending upwards. I think with 30 current stuff, you can get some strikeouts in rookie ball. Struck out 41% of players his high school season this year, and guys only hit 147 off him. So really, really high ceiling guy. I usually go with the college pitchers in the first round, but I just like the ceiling on Cahoon a little bit too much to pass, I thought, at the end of the first round. He was a nice selection for me there. Next pick is Joe Cuck. Joe Cuck is 50-70 fastball, and he has really high potentials. He's a very high potential, probably low floor guy because of his mentals and his low current stuff and control, but the ceiling is outrageous. So that was definitely an interesting, should be an interesting decision to see if Pittsburgh signs him, as that was an auto pick, and it seems like it was a mistake by Alex, didn't pick in time. But he also has a really high ceiling with his 60 control and a 75 changeup and a 70 fastball. The big bonus demand, so we'll see. Alex might decide to not sign him and get an extra first round pick the year after, but it also is a pretty nice talent. It's nice at mile an hour, 3 elite pitches, 3 big time ceilings. So we'll see if he signs him or not. But he does have a high ceiling there, so maybe he will want to take him. All right, next up we have Ricky Knives. Ricky Knives is a very explosive talent. He had one of the most electric stuff ratings in the draft, 35-60. I was very tempted to take him with my pick. He has an amazing changeup, a very, very good fastball, top 10 fastball in the draft from a starting pitcher, and he has really good movement, and he's a ground ball guy and another power pitcher with very good hold stamina. So it has everything you look for. 35 changeups, pretty advanced too. A lot of guys only have 25 and 30 rated changeups. Most of the guys that have that kind of electric stuff generally have the lower control and changeup. So the fact that it's 35 already is a really good sign. It looks like one of the best pitches in the draft. So this guy has a crazy ceiling. Should be able to strike a shitload of guys out as soon as he plays in the minors. I'd expect some pretty immediate success. So that was Houston's pick. Next up, we have Boston. They took yet another explosive arm, just like the trend we've seen in this video. A lot of big-time arms going lately with high stuff. Yet another one, 40-60 stuff with the best movement in the draft, 60 current movement, and an amazing, probably, like I said earlier, one of the best fastballs in the draft with another fella up there with Williams, the 2 or 3 best fastballs in the draft from starting pitchers. Also, he has an electric number 2 pitch in that 55-65 splitter. Extreme ground ball guy. So obviously looking at his profile, the control and changeup stand out. Doesn't really matter if he gets a changeup because I'm not a big 4th pitch guy. I think 3 is fine. But obviously it'd be nicer to have more. I think the home run rate goes down a little bit with each extra pitch you've had from what I've read. But he just really, that control is pretty low. So pretty low floor with the low control, but if he does get that control to 40 or 45, I think he can turn into a Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech type pitcher with that high arm talent with a little bit erratic with the control, but we'll see. I think he also has that durability rating, so a really, really high ceiling in that guy. The guy that can just be so good with that high movement rating if he develops. So big time arm going to Boston there. Next pickup was the compensation pick. So we have Alex Lopez going to Milwaukee. I think there's 3 of them, so that's really confusing. I don't remember this third one actually. I think it was. Let me see here, which player this was. I forget. Got it on my other screen here. So we got this 30-45 stuff one. So not this one. Must have been this one here. So yeah, so Alex Lopez, the 21-year-old, that's right. So Alex Lopez went in the compensation picks. Alex Lopez has 3 good pitches. The slider is going to be interesting to see if it comes along with a 50 potential changeup. And the 265s has really good movement control combo. That's pretty high control from a guy with that good of a fastball. 50 current fastball, 65 that can control it really well. I expect that stuff to go up quite a bit too, because that 30 rating seems a little low for how good his couple of his pitches are. I think as soon as that curveball goes up a bit to 40 or 45 and gives him a legit number 2 pitch, I think that stuff will go up. So I'd expect him to go up pretty good and just be a solid all-around player. The ceiling isn't as high as some of the guys we've seen below, but he seems a little safer based on the really high current control movement combo. He has very low hold. This is one big weakness, but really a solid overall pick to get in the compensation round. Nice arm. Looks pretty advanced. Bobby Lacau is the next pick to the Yankees. The Yankees took another college arm. These arms are just flying off the board. It's a pretty weak position player draft. Bobby is a 80 stamina, 35-55 stuff. Another guy that throws pretty hard. Ground ball guy with an awesome changeup, which is probably what stood out. The changeup is so good. So this guy, if he can get some velocity increase and increase that fastball, that's a really nice profile of 5 pitches. And you have yet another pitcher going in Jonathan Goodwin to the Chicago White Sox. Let me see, I spelled that wrong. Jonathan Goodwin was the number 2 pitcher on my board when I went to select behind Ricky Neves. I think Jonathan Goodwin has amazing 4-pitch profile with high work ethic. He has really advanced. Like a lot of the last couple guys we've looked at have had like a 40, and 30 pitches. The fact that he has that 35 control but also has the high stuff makes him really nice. He's also pretty old, advanced. He's almost 23 years old, so he's a guy that should be able to come in, play in high A right away, and probably be in double A as soon as that second year starts and be able to be in the majors. Probably one of the most major league ready players in this entire draft. Really nice pick for the White Sox, who are obviously in contention with that veteran roster at Grandal at the end of his career and all those star hitters, Eloy Jimenez and Moncada. So this is a guy that actually could give them some give him a weapon right away that could be in the majors within a year or two. Nice advanced player. Mike Hicks was the next pick. Toronto selected Mike Hicks with a compensation pick from the Nick Senzel compensation, I'm assuming. 38 games, 35 stolen bases with 80 stealing. So Mike Hicks is a weapon, probably the best weapon in the draft on the base paths. That is the highest rating I've seen. Mike Hicks also has the most advanced approach in the draft. So when you look at this guy, there's a lot of tools that just jump right off the page at you. The one question mark will probably be his defense. I think he can get by pretty well at second base, but he also doesn't quite have the arm for shortstop or third base and doesn't quite have the range for shortstop. So I think second base, left field type profile. His bat's so good, it might be good enough to, if he has to go to first base, if that range drops to 50 or 45. Mike Hicks has an incredible approach, though. You do not see many guys in the draft, probably about one guy per year, if that, with this I and avoid K combo, both being so high. It means he's only going to strike out, like at college, he only struck out 6.8% of the time, and he walked almost 17, 18%, which is insane. His ISO jumped like 50 points, 40 points from his sophomore to his junior season. So there's a lot of stuff to love about Mike Hicks. I think that 35 hit tool too with that 45 avoid means he's going to be able to be one of the best current hitters in the draft right away. So the fact that if that good of contact with that good approach with that good of stealing makes him an offensive nightmare for minor league teams to play against on the base paths and stuff. So I think this is another guy that can come in, go right to high A and be successful right away. Awesome talent. A really similar guy with the very next pick, another position guy with a crazy advanced profile. Mike Semler looks like when you first look at his profile, you see a lot of things jump off the page. One of the best center fielders in the draft, 65 range, 70 speed. He can do everything. In this middle category here, he's a good base runner. He's an awesome. He can bunt. He can putt for hits. But most of all, probably the best overall tool in the entire draft, in my opinion, with the current and potential factored in together is that eye. There's nobody in the draft really that has too many 70 tools, and none of them have 60 currents. There's a couple of guys that have some nice tools with like 70 power potential or something, but the fact that that is the best current in the draft at 60 out of any of the hitting stuff by a mile. And 70 eye is just a historically great eye. I don't think we've ever had a guy in the draft with that kind of eye. I think the highest I've seen is like 45-70, 45-75. I don't even know if I've ever seen like a 50 current eye. So the fact that it's already 60, if you look at the scouting report, it's gone from 30 to 50 to 55 to 60, just keeps going up over and over and over. And his hit tool's also gotten better too. So this guy is an amazing guy to get at the end of the first round with that kind of profile. And he can also hit a ton of doubles. So the guy's going to get on base. He's able to run really well on the base pass once he's on. He's able to play good defense. And he's got one of the better approaches in the draft. And also has that 35 hit tool, which is one of the better hit tools in the draft. So overall, it just seems like a bargain talent to get that late in the draft. And then that finishes off that first round. So that's everybody's first round pick. I will pull the draft over again so you guys can see here. You have a ton of pitchers going in this first round and a ton of center fielders. So a couple of these center fielders are actually right fielders probably. Like I think Shepard and Tigner are both more right fielders. The legit center fielders, in my opinion, probably that will stick for sure would be Bailiff. And then you got a bunch of right fielders, as you can see, and a ton of pitchers. You have Mike Hicks, Semler's a legit center fielder. Williams, that one third baseman that went, highest third baseman picked in the draft. As you see here, you just had the one shortstop, Chris Weatherington, go, who might be more of a second baseman too, and Hicks probably more of a second baseman. So no surefire like high range shortstops went in this draft. Really weak shortstop class. But Weatherington could actually be pretty nasty there. But yeah, it's an interesting draft with a lot of college arms going. I think I took the only high school arm in the entire draft with Cahoon. I don't think any other these guys. So all college arms. So really, really good players going in that first round. Danny Delancey was the other high school guy that went, and as we reviewed in this video, and I think maybe there's one more up here. Robert Plant was a high school guy. So yeah, very, very few high school guys compared to normal. Probably the lowest I've ever seen. Dylan Hoffman was also a high school guy too. So we'll 4 guys there. But really interesting first round. The second round is concluded now in the timing of this video. I won't do the whole recap for that. There was a few guys that fell that were pretty talented. Josh Christensen is a nice talent to go in the second round. 55 power, 40 current power, big time range and center fielder. Really liked him. I thought that was a good pick. Our first shortstop went Mike Hoynes. That was a pick to KC in the second round. He's a 65 range college shortstop. As you can see, Elijah Harrison I thought was a big steal in the second round. One of the best bats in the draft, arguably the best after those 3 elite prospects that went in the top 10. Elijah Harrison's 40 hit tool with 65 current potential with an advanced approach, and everything is above 30. So that guy was an amazing get by Chicago in the second round there, and especially the fact that they got Weatherington in the first round, the 2 of the most explosive offensive players in the draft. And then you got your second shortstop going here, really talented high school shortstop to the Padres with 75 range. And then big two-way player here going to Montreal, Fennell. I think he's got 65 power potential. Really similar bat to the guy we talked about earlier. And then a couple third basemen go late here, a big run on third base. And also a lot of pitchers go in this round too. But yeah, so this round was interesting. A bunch of pitchers, a bunch of third basemen there. And then you got a bunch more high school guys going in this round. I thought Chris Emery was a really interesting pick. I almost picked him. He went to Boston at the end of the second round. He had the best power in the draft at 30-70. At one point it was 80 for my scout, and it dropped to 70. I thought when the draft class first came out a couple years ago, got released, I thought he would be in contention for a top 5 pick with pretty historic 80 power tool. So that guy's got a huge ceiling there if he can develop in Boston, which I know guys develop there pretty well. Also has that 45 contact potential, so it's not like he has super low contact either. So that's kind of the recap of the second round. Then I'll just quickly go over the third round here. We're about halfway through that so far. A lot more bats going in this round. Our first catcher of the draft went in Mike Robertson, the 60 power catcher, pretty solid, 55 ability. Thought that was a good value in the third round there. And then a couple high contact position players. Really like Nelson Flores. Continue that trend of third baseman going. So that's it for now. I'll see what we have in store for the next video. Cheers.